and welcome back to the Event Modeling and Event Sourcing podcast with your hosts, Martin and Adam. We're back for another season to get you through the long winter in the Northern Hemisphere to give you everything to do with event modeling and event sourcing, and lots of topics to cover. Good to see you again, Martin, on our podcast. So happy to see you here.
Yeah, I'm so glad we are starting season 2.
Of course, we saw each other in Germany. This was a long time we haven't seen each other, right? I think it was since Como Camp, right, that we haven't seen each other. So
ages.
So it was like a year.
We met
a year and a half, wasn't it? A year and a half.
Yeah,
Como Camp.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so it's been way too long.
First we met in the Netherlands, and then we met in Germany, right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's right. So there was obviously the event modeling conference, which went extremely well. I'm really happy with the people that turned out and the really important topics that got discussed, which we'll go over. And then, of course, the Axonic conference. Formerly known as Axon IQ. Now they have their management team over in North America. So they're in the next stage of growth, which is really good to see companies, growing in the event sourcing space and event modeling. I mean, I was floored to see, in the keynote, Allard, the CTO, showing full event modeling diagrams of how event sourcing works and all that. So it's really catching on within lots of different areas, and so it was really nice to see that. And of course, it was a bit of a crazy couple of days with the dinners and the presentations and all that. But really good to see a bunch of people. Of course, we saw Gabriel there, Gabriel Schenker from
was so nice.
Who I know from, I think we kind of reminisce. When did we actually meet? It was like back in the day, and I think he was in Texas or something, and came up to Redmond, Washington for alt.net. And we were, he was a big Hibernate guy. So back in the day, before we had everyone moving to event sourcing, we were trying to, get things as fast as possible, and object relational mappers were the thing. And then so from Java Space, Hibernate made it over to .NET as Hibernate. And Gabriel knew that stuff inside out, and lazy loading of relationships and all this kind of stuff. It was stuff of nightmares. What used to be dreams turned to nightmares later. It's not that the technology was bad, but the whole approach of the single model was really, still had the Achilles heel of complexity and just putting band-aids on stuff. But anyway, so that's how I know Gabriel, and of course you know him from the event sourcing stuff. So. It was really good to see him. He's an advisor for us, and has, we always seen eye to eye. So these relations, it goes to show, like when you go to these conferences and things like that, you don't know who you're going to meet and how important they'll be in your life. I never, realized, if when you went back to 2007 or 2008 or whatever year that was that I met Gabriel. I was like, oh, this is a cool guy. He does really cool stuff. And then years later, because you're aligned in the way you think, you get to actually work with them at a deeper level. We help each other's companies, each other's careers. And so don't, my advice would be not to miss out on those personal connections that you can make at these events. And so I think for a lot of the young people that we met at Axon IQ conference and the event modeling conference, there's a lot of people in their 20s, and they don't realize that some of the people that they met and had lunch with and discussed something at a certain thing, they're going to have those, potentially those people are going to help them out and have a really good future together. So did you have any kind of discoveries like this too in the industry?
I love to go to these conferences, really, especially the Axonic conference. Every time is like a family reunion. I love it to go to these conferences and have all these discussions. People, you meet so many people, gets to talk about so many interesting things. So not going to conferences is a very bad decision. So I really enjoy that.
Yeah, and some people came to both the event modeling one and the Axonic one. Yes. Yeah, one was in Amsterdam, and then Munich was the event modeling one. Yeah. So
And many people reached out to me after the conference. So at the Exonic conference, I gave a talk and I gave two workshops, and many people reached out to me after the conference and told me how much they enjoyed either the talk or the workshops. And with many, I'm currently having discussions. So it's an amazing way to network with people and get to know interesting people.
yeah, it's I think people don't realize. I mean, we've been so used to online since the pandemic. But I think we're finally coming back, and I think we talk about this quite a bit in
Yeah,
the last season of the podcast. That the direct human interaction, the real time facial expressions, actually count for a lot.
yeah,
And all that. So you lose a lot of this interactivity with a fellow human being by doing things only by conference calls. I mean, it's
yeah,
better than nothing, but being there and also just the organic way of conversations happening either at dinner or in the hallway or after a talk has finished or during a workshop when you're working together on a these are all very different environments for that may trigger better discussions for whatever reason. You might be more relaxed at dinner, you may be more focused during the workshop, you might be
yeah.
um, trading opinions when you're watching a presentation. So all of these are different mediums that are going to help you connect with others. So I think it's really good to go to these and find people that you get along with. And of course, it's really nice to meet people that you've just known online for a long time and see
That
them. And
is
so, I
the
mean,
best part of
I
it.
saw
Yeah,
Christian there, who is from, I believe, Denmark, right?
yeah.
Um, a lot of people. I think Dennis Duman. I think his name is Dunan. Dunan, is it Dunan or Duman? I forget. Duman, I think is his last name. But
Let me see.
he was at both. He was at the event modeling and the Exonic conference. That was good. And then you got Allard to show up.
Yeah, that was also amazing. So
Who's Allard
the
for those that don't know?
Allard is the CTO from Exonic, and he joined for both days. I did not expect that. So I mean, they have a lot of stuff on the table, a lot of things to do, but he joined for both days, and I think the discussions were really amazing. That
Yeah,
was really nice.
yeah. He's It's nice to see people in both at the leadership level, C level um, positions in the companies, but also people that are seasoned event sourcing folks
Yeah.
really embrace event modeling and see how it helps the betterment of the industry, but especially for newer concepts to be able to go forward faster, such as event sourcing. So
And I mean, this was such a great opportunity for someone. You could just go to Allard or to you or to all these people who are well known in the industry and just talk to them and ask your questions, and you will get answers directly.
yeah,
That's such an amazing opportunity.
yeah, because that again, that in person, like the being face to face, the exchange in ideas is so much faster.
Yeah,
You take so many cues directly, or you can just grab a paper or and draw something or
yeah,
grab someone that's standing beside you that was saying something and just say, hey, can you repeat what you said? And these things are
yeah,
incredibly difficult to attain online or whatever. So or yeah, exchanges of on the forums or Twitter or whatever it is, it's not the
yeah.
same.
And
So
especially for the event modeling conference, I'm super happy that we kept it small for this year. I mean, there were only about 40 people. You could easily have discussions with every single one on the conference as
yeah,
well.
that's the great part about keeping these small. But unfortunately, there was a waiting list, right?
Oh yes, the waiting list was 3 times as large as the number of participants. So we will make it a little bit bigger
So you
next
can't
time.
make everyone happy all the time. You got to have a
Yes.
large conference, small conference. There could be like a summit type of thing. Maybe this type of event just happens in Munich or Berlin or something like that, closer to you. And this, similar thing in North America here might happen in Vancouver. But then
Yeah.
as you get, the larger gatherings, which are also important, you want to be inclusive. You don't want to have people just sitting on they
Yeah.
weren't there in time and they're just sitting on the waiting list. So you want to have a larger one, but again, that's a different format, and so um, you may not be able to talk to everyone at a larger conference, which is absolutely, you're right.
Yeah.
So the other good part about having the smaller amount of people is that those were the real eager people. So they're the ones that are
Yeah.
really pushing the envelope. And for everyone that made it to that event modeling conference, they kind of saw, into the future, because this is where all these people are pushing the approach, and how they're solving the problems, and what they're considering as good practices, etc. They're ahead of the curve. So especially in today's times, that's really important,
Yeah.
with the digital sort of landscape, information technology just being totally different, given how much the AI drive is moving things forward. There's an incredible shift in the economy, so being part of these discussions is really really good. And on that note, of course, uh, over the summer, and since spring, you've worked quite a bit on the Miro plugin, which has just become so feature rich, and being able to export the event models to a regular JSON format, and upload it somewhere else, or just feed it into even what you did was quite funny with the hacking the axonic
Yeah.
new thing. You exported your event model, and just, instead of answering a question that their AI platform gave you, just pasted in the entire JSON event model, and
Yeah,
and it worked
maybe
well.
we need to. So the Axonic platform was announced at the Axonic conference, and there is an AI build agent where you can just chat basically with the agent,
Yeah,
ask
it's like
answer a
Lovable,
few
right? Any of
questions,
these kind of like
like
vibe
lovable.
coding things, right? Yeah.
Exactly, and but it's limited what you can plug in there. So it's basically like a chat. And in my talk, I basically hacked the platform a little bit, so I could plug in my event model, which is a JSON that is exported from the Miro plugin, and the agent immediately started building the application. I didn't prompt anything; it's just give it the event model, and it starts doing its thing, and it works,
And that
which is
just
just
shows you, that showed the power of having event modeling as a spec, because it got it correct, right? Like
yes, yes,
you didn't get any hallucinations or anything. You got the exact API that was there, just for people to kind of understand. Axonic's AI kind of interface gives you just up to the API layer. It doesn't do the screens and all that. So it's kind of like the
yeah,
back end generation of what you need. You still have to develop the front end yourself, but and that's kind of like what we're working on. So that's another big announcement, is that you and I have our own event modeling company now, eventmodeling.com, trademark name pending, so that we can get the squatters off of the name.
yeah.
And but for now, it'll be eventmodeling.ai until all of that legal process is done. So that's kind of where we both don't want to have to go to Miro when people say, what's the best way to do event modeling? And they're like, oh, well, you got to find a canvas and then draw rectangles and join them
And
together. It's like,
fiddle around with the arrows. Good luck with that. Yeah,
so we don't want a digital, another whiteboard. We want an event modeling tool, which is really encapsulating that. And it's not about automating a whiteboard. It's about creating an event model, which means you're synchronizing, just a viewport, which is like, what slices do you see? You don't have to be zooming around a whiteboard to do that. And so one of the key differentiators there is, of course, it's a lot simpler. So by not um, making the basis of your collaboration for event modeling a canvas, you get to not solve some of the hard problems that are like CRDT like kind of merges. Like, if you ever used Miro and someone is editing an event, the data in an event, it's locked for you,
it's
and
not.
and you're trying to like move a whole bunch of stuff, you can't do it. These types of things are you know things that shouldn't lock you, because you're not trying to synchronize a whiteboard, you're trying to event model. So in our platform, when you're editing the event, you shouldn't have the carpet pulled from under your feet because someone's moving the slice somewhere else at that time. it should be, aware that your context right now is renaming the event, and that, yeah, maybe there's a little notification that you're editing something that's about to be moved. And you can stop editing and see that, or you can continue and say, yeah, I know, but I'm just doing a rename or whatever. I don't care if it gets moved. And so the other
Yeah.
person's not locked and they're moving it. And so it's kind of like Miro is the CRUD, and we're
Yeah.
doing event sourcing for event modeling, right? We don't
Yeah.
want a generic database for creating these diagrams. We want something that's more like an event sourcing for our business, and so having a dashboard that a canvas like visual interface is still important, of course. Like, we're not losing that. You're still going to have what looks like Miro, but it's not based on that. What are your thoughts on some of these things?
And I think also it will not give as much freedom as you have in Miro. I see people are fiddling around trying to align all the elements and stuff like
Yeah,
that. It will be much simpler.
yeah,
But removing a lot of this canvas stuff, it will simply be much, much simpler to use. So you
yeah,
can focus on what's important. And this is not moving sticky notes around, right?
yeah. Exactly. I mean, that's a problem with any medium, is that you adopt a medium that's used for something else
Yeah.
for a different purpose. And when you think about, what is event modeling, it's about, timeline of the story of what you're doing. And so there's
Yes.
much better ways to think about that and to abstract, what the fundamental exchanges are. And I think, not to discredit anyone that's been doing that before, they really wanted to remove Miro, but I think people were thinking that, well, people are used to the canvas, so we should make our own canvas with all the things, kind of like what you added to Miro. And so everyone was
Yeah.
trying to do this, and maybe it's the hindsight of seeing these efforts and seeing how people do event modeling over the many years now, that we can say, okay, this is not, we have to not keep trying that same approach, because we've had Rafael's attempt with Modulution. We had O Note from Bobby Calderwood. We had a number of
There were quite a few.
others, and there's Proofboard that Alexander's doing. There's a bunch of them, and so that's good. But it shows that it's kind of like, it's still the same. It's still the same canvas at the bottom, and I think we need a fresh, more tailored exactly to what event modeling is, than automating another whiteboard. So,
Yeah.
and of course, this is an effort that we're going to have full integration with something like Exonic. We're in talks with them because they don't have that front end, like they don't have the UI part. So it doesn't really make sense for their AI agent right now to have the top swim lanes of event modeling, because they're only generating the underneath side, right? So that, again, not to criticize them, this is version 1. It's a great, absolutely great product, and all that, and it'll get you to a really good place, and save you a lot of time to get the back end automated. But we want to give them a plugin that allows the entire, top to bottom, the full slice approach,
Yeah.
using their platform. And I think, for our goals is to make sure that it's as open source as possible, as accessible as possible. This is not there to make a ton of money. The money will be there, but the idea is to help everyone do event modeling in the easiest way possible. And then, the money comes in through, large corporate support contracts and education packages and all this kind of stuff. The honest way to kind of scale this, but it's not. I don't want to, and I think you agree with me, to make a lot of money off of the people that are barely starting to,
Mm.
either build
Yeah.
their own small company or learn the approach. You don't want to be charging people that at all. So, and again, of course, I'm a huge open source and open standards proponent. So, I'm the last person that's going to throw anything proprietary out there. And I want this to, I think my history speaks for itself, that you're not going to have, if you adopt our stuff, you're not going to be stuck in a vendor lock-in situation. It's quite the opposite. We're always going to be, pushing to open standards and how you can integrate multiple platforms that you're already on and work together. And of course, um, part of the approach here is that, okay, well, if we have an event modeling platform, we can have quote unquote marketplace or even just GitHub stuff. I look at a whole bunch of different things in the open source community. Like, I use Fish Shell, and there's a whole bunch of extensions that you can get for your Fish, terminal. And, so there's I think it's Fisherman that has, kind of like a package manager. And there you can discover a whole bunch of things in the marketplace, and all they are GitHub repos with like some files that are guaranteed to be there, and it just in a registry you can register them. So it's not much different for event modeling. If I start event modeling and I start to say that my system has a sign up page and all that, it's like, oh, there's a little helpful tip that I can say, oh, we have a template for signups. Do you want to just start with that? Oh, yeah, sure. I'll drag that in. And the idea of the template, of course, is that you have, it's editable once it's dropped in, and say, well, the template is, I've used this example quite often. The template is good for a sign up, but I also want the profile pic to be uploaded. So you can add your own slice because the template's now deployed and on your canvas, quote unquote, and you can now edit it further, right? So, but it just gets you there, 90% of the way. And so one of the biggest problems with event modeling is people whine and complain about like, oh, it takes so long to draw all the little things and this and that and this. So we get it. Like AI will auto-gen a lot of stuff. You can pull in a lot of previous templates. AI should be able to adjust the way the screens look with the way your current screens work, right? This is all part of the platform, is that we want to follow the mental sort of journey that people go through when they're specifying and thinking about their systems, right? We even talked about this at the conference. Like we should be talking about a system, you and me, and behind us, the AI will be drawing the event model based on our discussion. It live, like as we mention some new feature or a screen, it'll do its best attempt to like put it somewhere in the user journeys, as we call them. We call them. So many people are talking about different stories and or like different ways to talk about the workflows. A large talking about what is it? Scenarios, journeys.
Yeah.
Other people say scenarios. I call them workflows. The blue arrows at the top, right? Like so.
Yeah. For me, it's chapters.
Yeah.
I use chapters.
So anyway, enough about that. We already have. So how did that happen? Well, you kind of gave me the kick in the pants because you said, oh, hey, I can take all of the stuff that I wrote for the Miro extension and just take Miro out and just use a regular HTML page instead, and worked really quickly.
That was the prototype.
Yeah, and you were able to do that in like a few hours, right? It wasn't that hard, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, of course, then Nicola from our side was able to take that and say, okay, I'll just make it into the whole site. And he's been able to do quite a lot within, less than a week as well. So we're well on our way to do that. And the interesting stuff will happen after, but, we have that whole marketplace idea, all of with the templates, all the AI integrations, and of course we're going to make that entirely configurable. So if you're worried about someone stealing your IP, you can run that off of whatever model you're running locally. It won't matter. Yeah. And of course, another point, I'm kind of spoiling this entire season. We're talking about way too many things because we could talk about some of these things.
It's the first episode. Here it is. It's
like, all these ideas that were brewing in our heads over the last few months. But yeah, anyway, maybe I should stop.
I mean, for me, the goal of the tooling is just to simplify everything. Yeah. So right now, if you want to start, you have to start from scratch. Pull up Miro. Even if you use the Miro tooling, it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort to get something running. If you have a tooling, you have the catalog, you have the templates, you can be up and running using AI in an hour, and your event model is done. That's the goal for me.
Yeah,
something like that.
Exactly. And I mean, the important part is like, hey, this sounds like Agile all over again. We can just vibe code an event model. But I think what's important as your event model matures and you're actually implementing some of the stuff, this will know that there's stuff that you have deployed. So some of these slices that you're talking about as you're trying to do that, they're already deployed, so they'll be more cemented, right? Which is kind of the idea that you want to get across. And so when you're saying, I want this new feature, it should highlight, hey, you're going to have to rewrite some of these slices. They're no longer the same. However, these ones are still the same, so you don't have to do that.
Yeah,
It'll give you that, change management without even thinking about it. And that used to, do you remember what the budgets assigned to change management were, 20 years ago? This is now you don't even think about it, right? It's something that'll be, oh, we talked about this in this meeting, and here's a immediate projection of your impact on how much you're going to have to rewrite, what your strategy is. I mean, thank goodness. I mean, if you're doing event sourcing, event modeling can be done for non-event source stuff, but for event source stuff, thank goodness you have that, being able to use older versions of events and alongside the new ones. So your
yeah.
data migration isn't this nightmare scenario, right? So, yeah.
So I'm so looking forward to see this all coming up. This will really be amazing. I mean, it will fully be compatible with the Miro tooling and all the other tools. That's something I think this will also be a huge driver for some standardization. Many people
Yes.
asking for standardization. What is the standard format? Of course, when we build the tooling like that, there will be a standard
Yeah,
format.
there's some people already working on that. Who was it? Was it Simon?
Exactly.
Who was it that was? I
Yeah, Simon is working on that.
Yeah.
So there's this EMN, event modeling notation.
Yeah.
We will talk to all these people, of course.
Yeah,
And
I'm not too worried about what we come up with. The event modeling as a convention already exists quite solidly in a lot of people's heads. So
yeah.
whether we call a slice and the swim lane a swim lane, not too worried as long as the concept's there. And so,
The AI understands everything. So currently there are quite a few different formats, but in the end, they all are very, very similar. And the AI understands everything.
I'm not even worried about that, because you could put a translation layer. It's like, okay, well, this AI was trained on, I don't know, some stupid data that like doesn't, swim lane gets confused with an Olympic swimming event or something. So we'll translate it to something else, like a subsystem, right? And call it, subsystems. And that's just a one-to-one mapping of terms. But it's really important for AI, right? Because you're actually engaging the vector database at different points, which will give you very different sets of code and guarantees. So that, maybe it's good that we didn't establish an event modeling nomenclature too early, because now we know that AI is forcing our hand to really be conscious of what terms we use, because it's going to affect, how well all the ecosystem around event modeling is going to react to what we have. And if it's something that's really gets the spirit of how you do event sourcing, for example, you're going to end up with a much better experience, and zero hallucinations, or even, as I've experienced, positive hallucinations where it's telling you, you missed a good test case here, and that was my first aha moment, in all this. So anyway, so that's really awesome. I really can't wait to see this. I can't wait to just go to eventmodeling.ai for now, but then eventmodeling.com when we fix things up. But yeah, being able to just start and from anywhere, and have that really nice user experience for whether you're doing your own stuff on your own, or you're working within a team, or you're working in a large enterprise. That experience should be the same satisfaction for each of those types of users. So
I mean, right now, the web canvas for the Miro toolkit is still available, and
I
I
think it'll
imagine
be
this will
available
continue.
forever. I mean, there's no
Yeah, it
reason
will be available forever.
there's no reason to stop supporting other
Yeah,
platforms. Just because we're doing eventmodeling.com doesn't mean you don't use other things, and your
no,
organization may still be heavily invested in Miro and other tools, and we'll continue to support that. There's no reason why you can't do that. It's kind of like, the way I see it, it's like, hey, we can't communicate with you because you're using Hotmail for your email, and we use Gmail. Like, who says that? It doesn't make
yeah,
sense. And so it's the same thing. Event modeling is about describing your system, and it's like, whether your interface is Draw.io or Miro or eventmodeling.com, it doesn't matter, right? You can make use of how the system was described through anything. And
Yeah.
so there's really no point. It's an entirely new um, game theory type of world we're going into. We're going to be automated out of a lot of jobs all over the place, and the way I see it is that humanity will finally be able to not have. I'm an optimist. I think after all of this, the idea that you have to be cutthroat to succeed in life, because if you're not faster than your neighbor, then you might starve, especially in third world places and all this. I don't think that's a healthy way for humans to evolve. It was necessary when we were being eaten by bears and we had tribes, but civilizations way. I think we're way closer to Star Trek type of society than ever before, and I'm very happy because when I think about it, it's like, what would I love to do, right? And for most of my life, it's like, well, it has to make money or I'll die, or I
Yeah.
won't, I won't be able to provide for my family and things like that. Now I can say that I can actually do something good, like maybe I can, do something for the I don't know, the local pound for animals or whatever. I can work on a system that makes it easier to take care of the animals that are stray in the neighborhood, or I can do something for medicine, or something to help out people that are elderly or something. I can put
Yeah.
and not worry that I can't put food on the table. So I think the fact that the ball is taken away from traditional capitalism, I think, is a very good thing. So I know this is like way. So we're kind of forecasting our podcasts from 10 years from now, right? So in,
Yes, exactly.
in 2035, that'll be a regular topic of conversation on this
Yeah,
podcast.
we'll come back to this episode here. It all started. Yeah.
But I think it's all of this kind of plays into that. I really don't want the next generation. I don't want your kids and my kids to have the same struggles as my generation had. I think it's in humanity's best interest to make the next generation be able to uh, not focus on fighting with each other to succeed, but for everyone to succeed. And
Yeah.
I'm actually extremely optimistic about what AI is giving. I know there's grifters there trying to take advantage of it, oversell it, and monetize it, and blah blah blah. These are like the rough first steps. But I think
Yeah.
overall, the fact that everyone gets back so much time, we get to be good human beings instead of bad human beings. So many bad things happen because I have to be at work from 9 a.m. to 5 a.m. and there's a problem at school with my kid, or there's this other thing that I can't get to this
Yeah.
appointment or whatever. That is not a good way to live. So these things came from simulating uh, surviving against bears, 10,000 years ago. You survive against your colleagues in your next job instead. Well, that's not good. There's always this threat. You got to get rid of that. And I think we're on our way
Yeah.
to get rid of that. And so, anyway, I
That's
think the reason I bring this up is because event modeling is a core part of that. I think it is the standard way to get rid of so much garbage in this industry. And my keynote that I gave kind of went over that. It says I
yeah.
was already frustrated with, I don't want to do this garbage. There's a lot of it that's not necessary. And when you've been there, over the last 10 years, we've been proving it ourselves that it is unnecessary. It is garbage because we got better results without any of the things that are being proposed. But you need to think differently. It's not for free. It's not like, oh, good,
Yeah.
we just do event modeling and then all these problems go away. No, you have to let go of so many things that you think is good, and it's actually quite the opposite.
Yeah. This is what happens for quite a few of my customers right now. They are exactly in that phase. So, what do we have to let go to have all the benefits? We are slowly getting there.
Yeah, yeah. I'm quite happy how things are going. I'm actually incredibly surprised as to how many people are practicing event modeling.
Yeah.
I'm surprised every 6 months to hear of someone else, some other large company or some other organization or some other key influential people in the industry adopting it, and without even talking to me. This is all bigger than me now, and I'm so happy about that.
Yeah. Me
All
too.
right. Well, I think, what else can we talk about here? Oh, we wanted I almost forgot. We need to have something tangible for people to walk away from this podcast with. So
At least one.
at
We
least
want to
one
have
thing.
one
Okay, so
topic.
we can talk
One
about the
thing.
future and Star Trek
Exactly.
all we want, but and all of that. But at the same time, we want to also talk about something that people can apply. So you mentioned something called event modeling anti-patterns, and you
Yeah.
had some interesting diagrams for it. So maybe you can give everyone kind of
The
a talk about that.
Yeah, I asked on LinkedIn what we should discuss on the first episode here, and someone mentioned the anti-patterns because I mentioned a few of the anti-patterns at the Exonic conference in my talk. Because what happened there, and this was quite interesting, on the first day of the Exonic conference, people started to pull me aside and just show me their event models and ask me for my feedback. So they did a few things and it didn't feel right, and they just wanted to have me a look, wanted me to look at their event models and just give a little bit of feedback. And the interesting thing was, on all of them, I saw the same patterns everywhere. It were the same patterns, and after my talk was on day 2 of the conference, so. In the evening, after a few Heineken beers with some of the colleagues, I changed my talk and I talked a little bit about the anti-patterns I had seen on the first day. And I made it the furniture store because the patterns are named the left chair, the right chair, the bed, and I named it the thing in the presentation, but I got a few proposals, and now it's called the shelf. So it's the bookshelf basically.
Okay.
Four patterns you typically see.
Well, let me ask you about the first pattern, the chair.
Yeah, the
What is
left
that?
chair.
The
It's
anti-pattern.
basically
Sorry, anti-pattern, not
it's
pattern.
an anti-pattern. I mean, the patterns are not really anti-patterns. Sometimes it's
They're
perfectly
abused.
valid,
It's
valid
abuse
to
of these
use them.
shapes. Yeah, I get it.
But it's just something. If you see these patterns, these shapes in your event models, it might be something to look at. And the left chair is just you have one command and you have tons and tons of events coming out of this one command. Do you think that's an anti-pattern?
So one command and you have tons of events coming out of it.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean
Yes.
that's for me that's been I always decide. It's been a question from the very beginning. Not even just event modeling; it's been an event sourcing thing. I have like I bought a book or something, or I want to buy a book, and then so you have an event coming out of it as but a book purchased, but then you also have a
Inventory reduced.
inventory reduce or something stupid like that, or something else. I don't know. It could be
Yeah.
add added to frequent sales or something. I don't know. Could be any number
Yeah.
of things, and that is a complete anti-pattern just on the merits of event sourcing itself.
Yeah.
But it's trying to cram, for simple non-technical terms, it's trying to cram too much responsibility into one thing. It's making the
Yeah.
Swiss Army knife class or whatever, or over specification to one user story or something like that. And so so important thing is how do you get out of the chair pattern, right? What
Yeah.
would you do to?
I mean, you know where this is coming from because I had the opportunity to ask them, why did you model it that way? Because I would never model it
Mhm.
that way. And what they did is they just modeled the status quo. So they looked at their system. Okay, what is happening if I click on this button? Okay, I'm updating this table. I'm updating this table.
Oh,
That is
okay.
CRUD. That is CRUD.
Yeah.
You just modeling CRUD in your event model. You're doing 20 things
So it's actually
in one
accurate.
transaction.
So it's
Yeah,
actually accurate, but they have to dig deeper to really
yeah.
move this to something else.
I mean, what you need to do is you need to spread it out across the timeline. You
Yeah, but
cannot
I mean,
do.
my question is how? Where do you get the information of how to spread it out? I mean, because so for those that don't know, the solution to this is obviously to add processors. So of the two or more events that you have after your command, you pick the one that is intrinsic, must be there. So for like buying a book, trying to buy a book, it's bought a book. Like the other ones are obviously supplementary, and so
Yeah,
you can pick one. I mean, if it's up in the air, pick one at least. You can always go back and change it if you're wrong. So pick one to be that, and then say, okay, now that I have this event, this should be now updating some to-do list for further things that need to happen, such as
yeah,
updating a frequent book club or something like that, or whatever other things. So you start putting these gears in there, and those gears can be triggered off. The to-do lists can be triggered off of the same event. So you have multiple to-do lists. Each one does give this person extra points for frequent flyer stuff or frequent buyer
Yeah.
points or whatever it is, any number of things that can happen. So now you have the same events, but you have reasoning as to why they're happening, and you have a point of control for them. And more importantly is you're showing the complexity, because even if you don't have a processor in there and it's in line or whatever, you're actually showing to a business that, hey, awarding frequent buyer points is a thing we do, and it's separate from the actual purchasing and giving the book, right? It's
Yeah.
you're not going to have someone um, build you this one slice for this exorbitant cost because they're doing 50 different
Yeah.
things at the same time, and that's not
I
fair.
mean, it's
Not fair.
fixed price per slice, right? So
Yeah,
just cram
exactly.
everything
Well,
into
it's
one
it
slice.
transcends that thought. It's also, it's even when you don't have fixed price, this is the same kind of scam that business,
Yeah.
or management does to developers. And the flip side's true as well. I mean, you can have the opposite when someone says, well, this bought a book thing, it has these these properties, but I'm going to put them as separate events, and I'm going to say, artificially it's too complex, and I'm going to start to add processors that are not needed. I'm going to tear apart, one event and make multiples, and then I'm going to have multiple slices I can charge for. So, abuse comes from both sides, and this is about
Yeah.
transparency and giving you a medium to discuss the merits of something being considered, complex or not.
The so one thing I really like when you spread it out across the timeline is that you suddenly see how complex your system or your processes actually are. If there are 20 steps on your timeline, this is just, it visualizes your true process, what happens there. And you hide this complexity completely if you put everything into one slice.
Yep.
So it's really beneficial to really model it out step by step. Don't put everything into one slice, model it out step by step. What happens in your system? And then you see what's really going on. And this
Yep.
is where the big aha moments happen typically.
Exactly. Yeah. It's really being able to show that. And so it's a constant kind of argument with developers trying to adopt event modeling, because you have to tell them that it has to be a business focus when you're talking about this complexity. And so there's a flip side to this, where people use event modeling to try to specify. It's actually a big problem when you have developers that are pushing for event modeling. A lot of them are, and I actually posted, just a small side note. I had a post on LinkedIn that said, this is about control, and some people are trying to use event modeling to tell other developers how to implement something. They're
Mm.
not talking about what. They're shifting a lot of this into the how. Oh, I'll tell the other developers how to implement this.
Yeah.
And that's why you get a lot of the questions. Well, I'm trying to do this in an async way. It sort of is a business concern, but how do I show this in the event model? It's like, you don't show it. You show the end
That's
results of every step. And the developers are smart enough, right? My post had, don't teach your grandmother to suck eggs. How to suck eggs, right? It's telling someone that already knows how to do something, but just because you want the control to tell them how to do something. There's a whole bunch of this
yeah.
in the industry, right? So it's really important to understand the switch, when you're suddenly leaving the what and starting to get into the how area. You can mince words about, like, well, by specifying what, you're specifying how. No, it's quite clear. If I stop the time, the state of the system is this, and the granularity of that is always the what. And the hows can, you can add some annotations and all that, but simplicity is key, and like, you got to do the what. So we got 3 more patterns, so we better get going.
Yeah. The next one is the right chair. The right chair is basically similar to the left chair, but you just have many events contributing to one read model. It's not necessarily an anti-pattern. So oftentimes you have these read models that simply need a lot of information to build a complex projection. But oftentimes I see these really huge read models who just take in every event in the whole model and build something amazingly great. So yeah,
I
what
think
do you
I
think
showed
about?
one on one of our, like,
Yes.
zoomed out client ones that we had, and it
Yeah.
was but it was a dashboard thing. So it's like
A dashboard is a typical example.
they didn't
Yes,
even
where
bother drawing the lines to every event in the past because it would be so many lines that they just like made a giant box down below and just dumped in all the different example events in there because it was just crazy. But I think it was like some sort of a dashboard for everything,
yeah,
some status board. So they'll happen. Luckily, a lot of these, don't usually have a lot of a lot of logic, or a lot of the logic is already just copy pasted from other read models.
yeah,
If there's calculations, so they're not expensive to do necessarily, but you have to watch it. And I think if they start to do something new, I think that's my key when I should be thinking about splitting it into more things. If I'm no longer just simply, copying pasting, and
yeah.
I'm starting to innovate some new business rules in there.
I mean, you just have to be aware of the amount of coupling you get with this. I mean, it could still be fine, but of course, if you have one read model that takes all the events, there is a lot of coupling going on, which is just something to be aware of, I
Yeah,
think.
anytime you have any of those events go to a new version of that event, you're going to have to visit that thing, right? And
Yeah,
the person that's responsible for that slice has to know that, and
yeah,
that's you can also have this in a reactive mode where someone says that's it, that every single version of the revision I've had to revisit this slice, and
yes,
if it's going to take me more than 5 minutes, I'm no longer doing it, and they start to really get upset. You actually have to then give probably the shared responsibility that that's no longer that person's slice if they're not involved in the proposed changes, and you're going to have to give that responsibility to someone that's introduced the new changes, and this giant
yeah,
read model is affected by it. It's on them to write the new version, and of course on the client to pay for it because they asked for this crazy thing. So
yeah,
it's an expensive thing to maintain. Maybe you'd like to do a second round of modeling this where
yeah,
we limit the impact, and you can easily sell one of 5 slices changing to the person introducing that new event versus the one giant slice that they didn't author being
yeah,
changed. So
yeah.
it's
Good point.
all just management
Absolutely.
of effort and all that. So
So
two more.
should we go to the third pattern? The third pattern was the bad. I mean, you need to look at the shapes, then you know why they have
A lot of
these
people know
names.
the shape of the bed. It's got
Yeah,
posts at either end, and
I mean, it's like
a post on one
this
end
big,
and this long
and,
thing, right?
on one end
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And the bad is basically you have one screen and you have multiple commands coming out of it. It's just saving on slices. I saw this quite a few times. They just had this complex UIs, and they had just all these commands coming out of this one screen, basically as one slice more or
Yeah.
less, which is completely wrong. You cannot do it like this. That is really an anti-pattern. You cannot do it like this, in my opinion.
It hides too much. I mean,
Absolutely. Yeah.
the cure for it obviously is just to have a new screen above each thing, right?
Yes.
And spread
Exactly.
it out over horizontally. I think it may come from the idea that, or the problem with like people sitting in Miro hating editing the
Yes.
UI, right? And so like, oh, I'll just put one and just like, oh, you know how it'll change, and they hand wave them the what they want, and when the what is missing, that's when the problems start.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And I mean, I do it exactly like this. If I have a complex UI, oftentimes you have these complex UIs. It's just oftentimes you cannot prevent it. I
yeah,
just copy the screens and then
exactly.
highlight. Okay, this is the area for this command. This is
Yeah,
the area for this command. So it's absolutely clear what we are
yeah.
discussing.
And so it's one of the reasons that I have the blue and green markups in the UI. So like when you
Yes,
have a complex UI and you're interacting with this part of the screen, that button is colored blue, going to
exactly.
the command, and likewise for the dynamic information on that complex screen. If if
Yeah,
if one of those steps has this part in the top left corner on the menu changes, I highlight that in green, and that's what that read
yeah,
model affected on this
yeah,
step. So you can be quite expressive with these. And so a lot of times it's just lack of time or laziness or both or whatever that people don't do this. But yeah, definitely err on being explicit versus implicit so that you're not disappointed.
Yeah. Last one.
Yeah.
Last pattern was the shelf. Now it's named the shelf, which is just you have this constant flow of slices, and then suddenly in the middle you have this huge thing with tons and tons and tons of given indents. All the other slices have 2 or 3 given indents, but there's this one slice who has 20 given indents. All your business logic is accumulated in one single slice.
Yeah, I think I'm guilty of that on one of our things. Our billing system is has an
Yeah,
invoice, right? And so, what does the invoice have to listen to?
everything,
Everything. And
everything.
how many cases do you have for different things that happen on invoice? 1,000. So,
Yeah,
I'm due for a refactor or a complete redesign of that, because it's yeah, there's got to be uh, better, smaller places for the given wendens to be spread out
yeah.
over multiple slices, um, which then can be used to put together into generating an invoice or something. So, but again, it goes back to design. And you think, what's your criteria for, and how you solve it, and when do you say, hey, this is getting crazy?
I mean, sometimes it's just you cannot prevent it. Sometimes you have this complex algorithm that is implemented in one slice, and you want to showcase it somehow. Then you have all these given wendens. But it's just again something to be aware of. Okay, we have this slice here. There is a lot of coupling in there, a lot of things going on. If we change one thing, oftentimes we have to adjust a lot of given wendens in this slice. It's just something to be aware of. And if you talk about refactoring, that is probably one of the first places which could be a candidate.
Yeah, but we have to be careful with the word refactoring, because when you're tearing apart a slice, you actually might get different tests. So you can't really
Absolutely.
use
Yeah.
the exact same given when then. So you're kind of
Yeah.
redesigning. I mean, we also had more topics for next episodes. Some topics about, you guys say you don't do TDD. Well, we still do testing. It's just a little different. We don't You don't necessarily need to do, write a failing test first or a single failing test first to do slices, simply because the mechanics are different. But we can discuss that on another episode.
There
Um,
was a nice discussion at the conference
yeah,
for
that's the best part, is
yeah.
that the people that were there really, really were interested in solving their immediate problems, either by moving to event modeling, or they were already there and they were having some problems implementing it in their company,
Yeah.
or translating the event model to their solution, to their implementation. So yeah, it was really an amazing experience, and thank you again for putting it together. That was, I mean, I couldn't believe that you took public transit with all that stuff after
Yeah.
the, and of course, all the baking that your wife did. Oh my God, that was
Yeah.
amazing food. And so it's I couldn't believe what you as a single person accomplished to organize that whole
Well,
whole
my
event.
wife helped me, so it was
Yeah,
not only.
it was
The
amazing.
problem was really the location didn't tell me that there is a conference which happened directly after our conference. So we had to clean up everything, put everything into big
It was a
bags,
bit of a
and
rush. Yeah.
then rush out of the room. So and I went on the public transport with all these
I,
big
I, I
bags. I
can't
took.
believe you did that. But at least you're familiar with Munich. You lived there for a number of years. You,
Yeah, yeah,
you knew where
that
to
was not
go
the
you weren't. I just, from an outsider visiting the city, is like, what? You're taking all this on the public transit?
no, not a problem at all.
But yeah, Munich is great. I mean, it was such a nice time there, because I love the Deutsche Museum, which is a technology museum, which has
Yeah,
all the airplanes and all of the space stuff. Like you can see the lunar rover in there. You can see the Enigma
yeah,
machine in there from World War II. You can actually see a V2 rocket from World War II in there. That's crazy. Like it's always been one of my favorite museums that I've ever seen in my life. So, and I don't
yeah.
think the last time I was in that museum was I think 25 years ago, something like that, which is
Wow,
a long,
wow,
long time ago.
crazy. Yeah,
Maybe not that many, maybe 20. So definitely 2 decades. One of
yeah,
the things that I was disappointed in, though, is they didn't have the full size trains. I think part of the museum is getting renovated, because they definitely
yeah.
had the full locomotives and all of that. So That
I
was
think that's been moved to a dedicated museum. There's this
oh,
train
so they got
museum.
rid of them altogether. That's
Yeah,
too bad.
I think so, but I'm not sure. But
Okay.
there's a dedicated museum with more trains than you can look at.
Well, I
There's a lot.
mean, I don't want to see so many trains, but it would be nice to see, like, because they have all the planes and they used to have all the cars too. They had way more cars and stuff like that. So, and submarines, 20 years ago. So
Really?
it's,
Really?
yeah, they had
Wow.
like, you could see, I'll try to, I mean, this is like back before everyone had digital stuff. So I have like regular pictures. I should scan them from 20 years ago being in that museum.
Wow.
But yeah, you could see like a submarine cut in half, and you could see how all of this stuff works inside the
Wow.
submarine, which was really cool. So they had
Yeah.
cars, so they had everything before. So I
Yeah.
think that it seems like it's just the last building that's open. Like you have to from the bus stop, you have to walk all the way across that island to the other end,
Yeah.
but you're
Yeah.
walking past a lot of buildings that I know are not in service anymore. But it still says museum on them,
Mm.
so maybe there's some of that old stuff is in there. But anyway,
Wow.
worth seeing. I mean that one hall where you have 3 floors at least, and each one has full size airplanes on those
Yeah.
floors. It's crazy.
Okay.
I mean, there's a jumbo jet that's cut in half. Like you can see how
Yeah.
the baggage gets put in, and the engines that are like, 3 times as tall as me in the
Yeah.
museum. That's
Yeah.
incredible. So, if you're into tech, and you're in Munich, it would be silly for you not to go and see this museum, even for an hour, just to walk through it. It's just
Did
amazing.
it did it work? Did you get in there for free? Did
No,
that work?
no, I think
No.
it was for kids. So I
Ah,
misread
I
it.
see.
But
All
Mondays,
right.
I think they have like a free admission for kids.
It's
But
the
yeah.
yeah, that makes sense.
Um, but yeah, perfect day for, like, it was raining that day, so it was perfect to just go in there
Yeah,
and
nice.
explore. So yeah, definitely. If you're next time, I'm hoping that next time that there's an event in Munich that I get to fly there, I'm definitely going there again. And because
Won't be 20
one
years.
visit is not enough. One visit is not
Yeah.
enough because there's so much to read about. I mean, you have the printing press there. All of the stuff in tech and music too, like all the synthesizers, like the history of synthesizers, so you can see all of these things. History of radio. I didn't even see I think it was the light stuff or the chemistry. So the physics part, I didn't get to actually see the physics part. So next time, I have reasons to go
Cool.
back.
Yeah, I mean, it won't be two decades until you come back, right?
Yeah, no, no, it's gonna be, just given how much event modeling adoption is happening in Germany, and the fact that you're there, I'm definitely going to be back much sooner than 20 years.
Yeah, nice.
So, all right, Martin. Well, this is an awesome
Great.
kickoff for another season, and lots of interesting stuff to announce and share and teach again. And I'm really looking forward to digging in the winter and
Oh yeah, me
doing
too.
this with you
I
every
really
week.
missed the podcast. I
I
really
really
missed
did
it.
too. I know, and yeah, it's summer and the other things got in the way, but we're back now. So thank you for everyone for joining the podcast again, listening to us. If you have any suggestions for topics, either in event modeling and event sourcing sphere, make sure you go to eventmodeling.org and go to the Discord. Use the Discord link to join the Discord channel, Discord server, and just ping me or Martin, or just post a general topic request, and we're happy to cover it. So again,
Yeah,
for those that I met in Munich and Amsterdam at the 2 conferences, it was really nice to meet you, and more opportunities to meet again soon. So
for
again,
sure. Nice.
thanks, Martin,
All right.
and we'll be working on our platform this week. So I'll see you soon.
Yeah. All right.
All
See you
right,
soon. Bye bye.
bye everyone.